Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to solve some more puzzles on chess.com as part of my puzzle run number 5. If you're not familiar with my channel, I'm not a titled player or a chess coach like many other people who make chess-related videos on YouTube. I'm just a random person who enjoys this game and I'm trying to get better at it. And one way to do that is to solve puzzles, at least that's what I've been told. I made it to 1872 in my previous video, but they're getting pretty hard at this level. In this one, it looks like we're even on material. We each have a minor piece, 2 rooks, and a queen. So it might be just picking up a piece. While I was saying it might just be picking up a piece, I was already looking for checks, captures, and attacks, which is my next thing. And the first check that I saw is this one here. In fact, that might be my only check in this position. And it is a fork of the king and the knight. My rook, of course, is back here looking at the knight already. And once I get my queen over there to that square, then I'll have 2 pieces aimed at the knight. They'll have to move out of check or block the check. Actually, I think those are the only 2 moves. Either to move out of check or to block with the rook. I mean, obviously they could block with this rook, but that would be really bad. They could also block with the queen, which would be really bad. So I'm just going to try that really quick, and hopefully that was it. And I should pick up the knight. Now, one downside to this, I guess, is that they could bring a rook over. But if they do that, I've already got the knight. Then I'll get the queen, and then our rooks are facing off. So I think that's it. Oh, they took it with the queen. That surprises me because I'm just going to take the queen with my rook. Well, that couldn't have been their best move. Okay, come on. After you've lost a piece, so from White's perspective, you're down a piece, and then your next thought is, why not give away my queen as well? Although I guess it was just a queen trade, but would you really want to trade queens after being down a piece? Let's check it really quick before we move to the next one, since I did solve that one relatively quickly. After I took the knight, it does look like taking with the queen is one of their 2 best moves. These 2 are rated very similarly, and they were flipping. Rook takes d6 is a free pawn, which it says if they don't play that now, and they take my queen, then I'm going to take their queen, and then they're going to take that pawn. But then I'm going to get this one. But if they take that first, then I'm going to take their queen. They're going to have to double these pawns. And then I'm going to want to protect my c-pawn by bringing one of these rooks over there. It says I would bring my a rook over there, but then my a rook wouldn't be protecting this a file anymore, which is the only fully open file on the board. So I would probably bring my f rook, but that might be bad. Anyway, okay, I understand it, I guess, because they're going to lose the queen anyway. And just to be sure, if they save the queen, let's see, where could they save the queen? It's not listed, but can they just move the queen over one, where it's still protecting that pawn? And it would be aimed at this one. How bad would that be? That wouldn't be much worse, but for some reason it would be worse. And it says my best move is d5. I'm not sure why. Because, let's see, it wouldn't give up the pawn that way, and they wouldn't want to take it this way, because then I would move this and threaten their queen again. But if I play d5, they're just going to get this pawn, and then I'm going to play d4. But then they're going to get this pawn over here. All right, well, I don't want to spend a terrible amount of time on this one when I could go on to the next puzzle. Wow, as quickly as I solved that, I only got 5 points. That's okay. It's a little disappointing, but that's fine. I did get it, and I got it quickly. Next puzzle. Here I am down a full piece, and they have a discovery against me. I do have some checks. I have several checks in this position. I'm going to have to look at all of them, I guess, because it's not a capture. Right? That's the only thing I can capture in this position. And I'm really certain that that would be bad. So let's look at all the checks. I'm going to discount this check and this check and this check because in all of those cases, the king would just take me. So that's the 3 across the 4th rank that are checks. I mean, that captures also a check. But again, discounting that move, this is a check here, queen to e5. That gives them a bunch of ways to get out of check. 4 ways, 5 ways to get out of check. I have 3 checks back here on the 3rd rank. I'm going to assume of those that the e3 check would be the best because it's the closest. It would cut off all of these squares, right? So the king would be forced forward. The problem with the other 2 is, of course, that the king can get out this way, and then if I check again, I guess they can hide. I'm not sure, but it looks like a big chase that I would not win. But checking here on e3, I think is the most forceful. I still haven't looked at all my checks, like there's a check down there, but I think queen to e3 is the best because of what it cuts off. It limits the king's choices to 2. Do I need to figure out what I would do in both of those cases? Let's see, if the king comes forward to g4... Okay, I'm not seeing it. I'm going to play queen to e3, even though I'm not seeing it, but I've spent too much time here and I need to move on to another puzzle rather than continuing, spending 30 more minutes trying to figure this one out. Okay, it was that. And they did go to h4. So now should I play g5? Because it is a check. So now they don't have the opportunity to check me because g5 is a check. I think we already said that if they go down here, I can check again and then they can go back. I could check with the queen to g5, but then they go back and I can't safely check again without a repetition. But if I play pawn to g5, they have 1, 2 choices. If they go to h5, I can check with the queen down here on e2, and then they just go, wait. If they go, okay, I think, yeah, I saw this earlier. If they go to h5, I think this is checkmate because they can't come down here next to my king on g6. They can't go back because of the pawn. They can't take the pawn, and my queen's cutting off this diagonal. So what if I check with the pawn and they move over here? Then I just come in, right? Okay. Well, I think I've got it then. Oh, they went there, so this should be checkmate. Oh, it's not checkmate. Well, I was wrong about that, but this is checkmate, right? Okay, well, I spent way too much time on that because they did the thing that I figured out would be checkmate, but what if they had done the other thing? That always happens to me. I hesitate really long on a certain move because I think, oh, there's 2 possibilities, and then take the one that I figured out the answer for instead of the other one. So they went there first, which gives me a mate in 4. Queen to e3 was the answer, and it says it doesn't matter whether they go to g4 or h4. Okay, but let's say they go here. If they went to g4, I would check them with the h-pawn, and they wouldn't take it. Because if they took it, then this would be mate. Okay, I did not see that. So now they have to go over to h4. Right, yeah, if they take it, I have mate on g5 with the queen. Okay, so they go to h4, and then I come into f4 or g5, and either way, they have to go to h3, and I have mate on g4. Wow. Oh, that's why it didn't go that way, because I have 2 choices. Because they haven't figured out how to build 2 choices into the system. Okay, so I would come here. They could block with the pawn, but I would take it, and that's mate. Or they could take this pawn, and I go here, and that's mate. Or they go back, and I go here, and that's mate. Okay, so they have 3 legal moves, and I have a mate either way. Wow. Well, I obviously had a lot of trouble seeing that from the original position. So I'm going to click replay here. Okay, I saw this, queen to e3, but I didn't know what I would do if they moved their king to g5. They moved their king to g5, then it had to be h5, which they couldn't take because of this mate. So they would move over, which would be their only other legal move. And then I would come in here, and they would have to go back, and I would have mate. All right, but instead it went this way, which I figured out how to do this because of going to e2. Oh, and I forgot, they blocked, so I had to go this way. All right, long time spent on that puzzle. Next. Usually the first opponent move in a puzzle is a blunder. I'm not sure why that's a blunder. I don't think it's because of this pawn fork, because they go here and threaten my queen, and then I take it, and then they get away with their bishop. So, because the pawn fork's the first thing that I saw, but their knight has an easy out to that. I'm going to look for anything else. Are we even on material? Let's see, we each have 3 minor pieces, 2 rooks and a queen. It doesn't look like we're very far out of the opening, and in fact, my opponent has failed to get one of their pieces out. I'm ready to castle, but they've come in here attacking, which a lot of my opponents do, although very often without the 3rd piece. I have a lot of opponents that just attack with 2 pieces, and I have to worry about that instead of developing. Do I have any checks? I don't have a check with the bishop. I don't have a check with any knights or queens. Have any captures? I have this pawn. Doesn't seem like a great thing. Oh no, I can't take that because of this, right? Oh no, if the pawn's there and they take here, which threatens my queen, then I could take here. But again, they just escape with their bishop. I'm not sure where, but that's what they would do, I think. I just realized I was not even seeing the most obvious capture, which is to take the knight now. I think they would just take with their queen, but then I could do the pawn fork. Maybe that's it. The pawn fork was the first thing that I saw, but it doesn't work while my knight's still over here and their knight's there. So let me take the knight first and then do the pawn fork. And they took it with the bishop. So when I take back, they're going to take here, and then I have to save my rook. I don't know if that's good or not, but I'm going to take it. Oh, it stopped. But yeah, see, in a game, my opponent would take here, and then I wouldn't be sure what to do. I would move the rook over, and then they would get away, and I would go on to lose the game, probably. Okay, well, I'm glad I saw the pawn fork early. That helped me to eventually solve it once I realized, hey, the knight could be captured and draw the queen in there. Okay, next puzzle. In-game puzzle. We each have a single rook and a king, and they have 1 more pawn than I do, and my opponent's the only one with a passed pawn. They've also moved their king up here very close, but I can check the king, can also check the king with my rook. I'm just not sure, because I could also go down here and threaten this pawn. If they move over to protect it, then I can get that pawn, but then what's to stop this one? Or should I threaten that pawn first? If I threaten that pawn first, they can protect it, and then I don't have anything. But yeah, I'm tempted to check with the pawn first. That only leaves them 2 legal moves. So let's say I check with the pawn. The king can go back to g5 or f5. I suppose I could then check with the rook, but then it could come toward the rook. But if it came toward the rook, then I can pick off their h-pawn. So what if it just dropped back to protect the h-pawn? All right, fingers crossed. Let's do the rook check. It wasn't that. Okay, well then it was the pawn check is my guess. Let's go to the analysis board. It was not the pawn check. Okay, so I was way off. It was rook to d5 to go here now. What? Okay, I should have done the thing that I did on a previous puzzle. What if I had 2 turns in a row? If I had 2 turns in a row, I could put the rook up here first and then check them, and that would be mate. But in this case, they can't do anything about it. If I go to here, it doesn't matter what they do. This is checkmate. Wow. Next. Hopefully I can get another couple really fast because I'm almost out of time here. I'm playing with the black pieces. It's their king. I could take their queen, but that's probably not it. Let's see. Do I lose really fast if I take their queen? I guess they could take this and then they would be threatening checkmate. Do I have any checks? I do have a check. That seems really bad. Do I have any captures other than the queen? I do not. I can't capture anything with the knight. I can't capture anything with my queen, the other knight, or the other rook, or I could take this, but if I take that pawn, they have mate now. And like I said, in real life, I would want to take the queen, but I think they start coming in here hard and fast, and I don't know that I can get out of that. It's got to be something else. What if it's this first? No, that doesn't work either because they still come down. Okay, that's the thing that I can't solve here is how to stop them from checkmating me down here with the rook to h8 because they're going to take this pawn and I can't stop them from taking that pawn. Do I have to put my king up there? Is that what this is? No, because then they take it with the rook because it's protected by the pawn. Okay, I'm going to fail 2 puzzles in a row, I guess. Wait, what would I do if I had 2 turns in a row? If I had 2 turns in a row, what would I want the board to look like if I had 2 turns in a row? That's a good question. I don't think I can. Can I do anything even if I had 2 turns in a row? Because if I got up here and then took their queen, again, they just move out of check and they're still threatening this mate. Okay, do I have to threaten the bishop first? No, because if I do that, that stops protecting the rook. Maybe I come up here with the queen, but then they take this and I have to check on the next turn or it's checkmate. All right, well, I thought I was going to have enough time to get another puzzle, but yeah, I'm not going to get this one either, so I'm going to take it was taking the queen. Okay, but I still can't stop this checkmate, can I? I don't think that I can without checking. I have to check. That's the only way to get out of a checkmate is to check, so I have to check with either the rook or the queen. These are all my checks, correct? Queen to h3, which they would just take with their rook, which gets me out of checkmate, but then they're going to bring the other rook over. Or no, it doesn't get me out of checkmate because the rook's still there. Okay, so queen to c3 check. They can just get out of check. 3 different ways. Yeah, nothing lends itself to me. It's probably one of these 2. Again, what would I do if I had 2 turns in a row? If I had 2 turns in a row, again, I don't see anything that would help me 2 turns from now. If it's their turn, it's checkmate. So I have to check them, and that's a check, that's a check, that's a check. Those are my only 3 checks. It has to be one of those 3. I think that one's the worst, queen to h3, because again, the rook just takes it and they're still threatening mate. So it's either queen to c3 or rook takes g3. Sorry, this is not c3. This is c6 over here. It's either rook takes g3 or queen to c6. I'm going to go queen to c6. Oh, and it was that. I still don't know how to get out of checkmate. Now I only have 2 checks. One of those 2. Those are my only 2 checks. I mean, I could take the bishop, which ends the checkmate threat, but then I lose my queen for the bishop. Let's see, what's the material look like? Okay, they only have 2 rooks and a minor piece. I have 2 rooks and 2 minor pieces. So if I take the bishop, and they take back with either the pawn or the rook, and then I take this pawn, I'll be ahead on material. Should I just take the bishop? Oh my goodness! And just as I said that, I ran out of time. I'm going to click replay really quick. I don't have time to go to the analysis board, but they went over there. So it was taking the queen, and then they did what I thought, and then it was checking up here on c6 with the queen, and then giving up the queen for the bishop. All right. Thank you for spending your time here. I'll see you next time.